Good morning, internet people. Welcome back. This is Sierra.
I'm Mister.
And the little man. Where's the little man?
Hi.
Hi. And we have actually the whole motley crew.
Again.
Yeah,
I
again.
got a dog.
You know you have your dog. What's his name?
It's called Thomas.
Called Tomasz. Yep.
Yeah.
Is it your dog or Mama's dog?
But what?
Is it your dog or is he Mama's dog?
It's my dog.
Anyways, today I am reporting to you from Derbyshire. Yes, you heard that right. I'm coming from Derbyshire today, and this road is really twisty. So if the camera is shaking like it's some kind of crazy person driving, it's because there is. Anyways, as I was saying, we're filming today in Derbyshire because, as you guys probably may have noticed, I'm a little bit fancier today, and that is because this evening we're actually going to a wedding reception in the area. A friend of mine from high school married a Brit, and so actually they got married 2 years ago, but because of COVID, their wedding ended up being a elopement, and so yeah, they got married and now they're having celebrations in each country, and I feel really excited and lucky that I could celebrate with them here and, you know, represent this side. Anyways, today, as I said before, we're gonna be in Derbyshire. We're actually traveling back in time, kind of, to the 1600s. I'll tell you about that in a little bit, but I don't know if you guys saw my Oxford video. I'll post it up in the cards if you want to see it, but back in 2009, I was in Oxford for a term doing some research on Eyam Plague Village, and that's where we're going today. We're going to be visiting Eyam Plague Village, and actually the research I did was for my graduation thesis, and so I was researching kind of like legends and like how they change over time, and actually how the story of the plague played out, and then my opinion whether or not I thought it was plague. So anyways, I can get more into that later, but I think we're actually very close to approaching. We're 9 minutes out, so we're gonna see that in 9 minutes. As you guys may notice or may not notice, it is raining today, so I don't know how much of everything I will be able to show you, but I'm excited to be back after, what is it, like 13 years, and kind of see how things have changed and share it with my family. So. No, we're not at the village yet. We're actually inside of a little country pub because as we were driving to Eyam, we realized about 10 minutes out that we were feeling really hungry, and as far as I know, there are no pubs with a lot of vegan options in Eyam, so I figured we would just stop ahead of time to kind of avoid that situation. But anyways, the place we're at right now is called the Fox House, and I think, I'm not 100% sure, but it's part of the Vintage Inn country pub chain, which is kind of all over northern England, possibly all of England, I don't actually know, but we've been to a few of them before, and we stopped here because they have vegan options, and last time we were at this chain it was really delicious. So we're just here gonna hang out, have maybe a half pint or something while we wait for our food, but we got a burger and a like nut roast and a nourish bowl, so that should be pretty good. But I just want to show you the place really quickly so you guys can see how cute and homey it is. You can see, yeah, there's like little pillows and stuff. It's just a really nice place. But yeah, when the food gets here, I will show it to you, and we'll see you guys when we finally get to the village. Hey, stop that. Can't take you anywhere, can I? It's like a statue. Whoa, look at that burger. It's pretty delicious. The presentation on this is really good. And this is what I'm talking about when I say I love country pubs. They always have just such nice food. It's a nut roast. I didn't realize it had so much fresh like nuts on top, but it looks homemade, looks incredible. With like an onion gravy, potatoes, and veg. So should be pretty nice for lunch. Alright guys, we made it. We're here in Eyam Village. Well, we're not actually in the village yet. We're outside of Eyam Village. The village is that way, but this is the little, kind of the entrance. Here's the sign. Actually, I'm gonna retake the same picture that I took 13 years ago when I was a student coming to research here. Again, just because it would be really fun, but I wanted to kind of step out for a second and show you the area. There's a Mr. Little Man and Pupkin are still in the car, but the quick version of the story of Eyam Village is that in 1665, a merchant or a trader, or the story kind of varies, but accidentally brought some cloth from London that was infested with the bubonic plague. He caught the plague and his whole family got it, and then it kind of spread to the village. Once the villagers realized what was happening, there was a huge meeting and a lot of conversation, and after all of that discussion, instead of people fleeing the village, they all made a pact to quarantine themselves and stay here during the time of the plague. And there's a lot of different versions of the story, but as the story goes, the people of Eyam quarantined themselves here during the plague pandemic and ended up not spreading the disease to the rest of Derbyshire, which is really interesting, really cool. According to my research that I did as a student, I don't know if I 100% agree that it was a plague, but either way, the story is still true. Whatever disease it was that these people had in the village, quarantining themselves did work. And actually thinking back to our recent history and what's happened, it's kind of scary to think that, you know, the same thing has happened recently in our culture. So yeah, history repeats itself. So that's a little sign, and we're gonna go see the rest of the village. All right, so we're actually in the village now, as in the village is here behind me. It's really tiny. Don't blink, you might miss it. Anyways, this is the Eyam Museum, so if you want to see all of the history of the village before you visit it, this is where you would go. I'm just going inside for a minute because I have a magnet that I really loved that I bought here the first time I was here, and I lost it, so it's time to go get a new one. Okay, now we are actually just now entering the churchyard, which, believe it or not, there are very few, if any, plague victims buried here, and that is because during the time of the plague, people were told in the village to bury people as close to where they died as possible. And so actually there's a lot of people buried like out in the forests. And I actually heard a story when I was researching here. Don't know that it's true because it was just from a random villager, but there are actually a lot of bodies in like the gardens of people here, just because at the time houses were not necessarily built in those areas. And so when people have been excavating to try to build new houses, they find bodies, which is kind of creepy. But yeah, anyways, this is the churchyard. This is actually called St. Lawrence Church, and it's famous because this is where the villagers went to church back then, and also where the villagers go to church today. So that's pretty cool. It's just cool if you know the history. Although this is like one of the most photographed like ones because it has the skull and crossbones on it. And I don't know that anyone actually knows why. But it's so old. I don't even know that you could read it if you did like a rubbing.
I don't know what is pirate.
Is a pirate? I don't know. That's a very good question. Yeah? Celtic cross up there, and this, everything here has to do with the plague. And then Mompesson's Well, which is north of it's at the edge of the village, and some of the graves, and then just like artwork of like representations. And the guy in the middle is Mompesson. He's the guy who was in charge and was like, hey y'all, let's quarantine and not kill ourselves. And then they're having a meeting over there about it, and yeah, that's it. You know, it still looks the same as it did before, but if you look really closely right there, it kind of resembles a skeleton. What is a skeleton? But when I was here, my professor actually told me that that was supposed to be some kind of church art that either was created after the plague or like around the time of the plague, or the paintings maybe were from the time. I don't know, but it's still really neat to see. It's crazy, this place looks so much bigger now than it did before. I don't know if I was just hyper focused on collecting information when I was here before, but it really does look a lot bigger. So this is the one thing that I really wanted to show everyone that I think is really neat. First of all, it's beautiful. I don't think that it's an original manuscript or anything, but you can actually see when you look at it. I think over half the village was killed for the plague, or died during the time of the plague. They're not actually sure, but you can actually see all the names of the people, and you can see multiple people died each day from the plague. And a lot of them are just a couple of days apart because it would spread through streets and households really quickly. And then I think that this is a copy of the original register. You can see the names and dates. People had such pretty handwriting back then. Who died of the plague.
Follow me.
I should follow you? Okay.
Yep. Whoa.
The little adventurer is on his way again. Even in the churchyard, he likes to play. And then here is one of the most important graves in the graveyard. It is Catherine Mompesson, which was the rector William Mompesson's wife. It says that she died in the plague because there is a mixture of opinion. Some people say that she died from the plague, but I read that she died of something else. But she died during the time of the plague, and yeah, so that's her site. And also something else I think is really interesting that you don't see very often is when they originally made it, there was a mistake right there, and then a few years later they had to correct it. So yeah, obviously you can see the correction, but I just think it's cool to show that, I mean, not everything was done perfectly back then either, and so they found their own ways to fix it rather than doing the whole thing over again like we would. So yeah. Some of us are having a little bit too much fun. Alright, so that was the church, and now we're gonna go just around the corner over here to the plague cottages. Like I said before, this village is super tiny, and if you blink or if you walk too fast, you just might miss it. But the plague cottages are just up and around the corner, so let's go and check those out really quickly. And the plague cottages, as I mentioned before, are right here. And believe it or not, they're still owned by people, and people still live in them, so we can't go inside. But I can show them to you from the outside, which is actually kind of cool. And there they are. It's crazy to think the houses have been around that long, but they have. As you guys can see, I mean, house style hasn't changed that much. The gardens are lovely. It's interesting when you visit all these places where horrible things happened. Somehow nature comes back and makes it beautiful. Hey again. So we're back in the car. You see what?
Sheep.
You saw a sheep?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what color was it?
White.
It was a white sheep?
Yep.
Are you sure it wasn't a black sheep?
And black sheep too.
You saw a black sheep too?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw both too.
There's black.
White and black. Was it just the face or the whole body was black?
But face and legs.
Ah, okay, cool. Hey guys, so we're back in the car now. Just finished up at Eyam Plague Village. Mister, what did you think of it?
It's okay. It's interesting.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Alright.
I don't have much words to say though.
He's being diplomatic. He did not enjoy himself. And I asked little man a few minutes ago if he had fun. He's like, yeah. So obviously little man loved it. But I had a good time kind of walking down memory lane and kind of getting to show my family a little bit of my thesis, and it was just kind of cool. But there's a couple of things I didn't show you just because we're running out of time and we have to go back to the hotel soon to get ready for the wedding. There are a couple more things that you can see. There are the boundary stones, which are around the village that kind of show where the villagers and the people around the villages couldn't go past the line. And there's also Mompesson's well. I have photos of it, I think, from the first time I was here. I'll put them on the screen. And then there is also at each, I think it's the boundary stone. I don't remember how many of them there are, but there were also in the places where the supplies are dropped off, there were rocks that had holes drilled into them. And then what they would do in order to prevent infection is they would put the payment for the goods and services into these little holes in the rocks that had vinegar in them, and apparently that killed the plague. And then when people came with new supplies, they would just take the money out. So yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know that wasn't my usual type of video that I make, but I wanted to share it with you. So yeah, but that was my little adventure. It was a lot of fun. Now we're going to head to the wedding. I'll actually go to the hotel to get ready for the wedding and go, because we have about 3 hours until it starts. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe before you leave, and I will see you later. Bye.